CEOs bailing on the president's business councils after his leadership on Charlottesville. As the number mounted, the president now saying he's disbanded the councils. And tonight, the president's chief of staff was the White House blindsided by his most recent comments. Also tonight, the hurricane along the American coastline turning deadly. The warnings up at this hour. The flight crew sickened the third time in a week. JetBlue crew members falling ill. Tonight, the airline on what it blames this time. The explosion on an American highway, the big rig crash erupting into flames. And the major medical headline tonight on cancer. Can a blood test now find cancer before the symptoms start?
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. And we begin tonight with the backlash against President Trump. Several of the nation's top CEOs from companies you'll know, Campbell Soup, Pepsi, Walmart, bailing on the president's business councils. It comes amid the president's response to Charlottesville and his newest comments saying both sides should share the blame, that there were very fine people on both sides. And tonight, many studying the president's chief of staff, General John Kelly, his face appearing to wince there as President Trump delivered those words. Was the White House blindsided on this? ABC's Mary Bruce leading us off.
He sold himself as the businessman president, able to harness the power of corporate America. But tonight, some of the nation's top executives are turning their backs on President Trump. The tipping point, his comments suggesting the white supremacists in Charlottesville should share the blame with the protesters opposing them. Mr. President, are you putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane?
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious and it was horrible.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides.
The president going so far as to defend some of those who took part in the white nationalist rally.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Those comments did not sit well with many CEOs on the president's business advisory councils. Already, some were jumping ship. The first, Merck CEO Ken Frazier, the only African-American on Trump's manufacturing council. Monday, Frazier quit the council, saying America's leaders must honor our fundamental values by clearly rejecting expressions of hatred. The president fired back, tweeting Frazier will have more time to lower rip-off drug prices.
Why do you think these CEOs are leaving your manufacturing council?
Because they're not taking their job seriously as it pertains to this country.
On Twitter, he added, for every CEO that drops out of the Manufacturing Council, I have many to take their place. But that didn't stop the stampede of departures. Today, the CEO of Campbell Soup leaving, saying racism and murder are unequivocally reprehensible and are not morally equivalent to anything else that happened in Charlottesville. I believe the president should have been and still needs to be unambiguous on that point. And now a key White House advisory council of top CEOs has voted to disband. Powerhouses like Pepsi, GE, IBM, and Walmart. In a letter to employees, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon writing, I strongly disagree with President Trump's reaction to the events that took place in Charlottesville over the past several days. Racism, intolerance, and violence are always wrong. The CEOs called the White House to inform the president of their decision, and he quickly put out this tweet. Rather than putting pressure on the business people of the Manufacturing Council and Strategy and Policy Forum, I am ending both. Thank you all. The saga is taking a toll on the White House. Among some of the president's inner circle, a sense of exasperation. The president's new chief of staff, John Kelly, spotted at that combative off-the-cuff press conference, staring down at the floor, at times seeming to wince. The political fallout has been swift. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham saying the president took a step backward, adding, your words are dividing Americans, not healing them. Marco Rubio tweeting, the white supremacy groups will see being assigned only 50% of blame as a win. We cannot allow this old evil to be resurrected. And today, a joint statement from Presidents Bush 41 and 43. They stopped short of naming President Trump, but made it clear America must always reject racial bigotry, anti-Semitism, and hatred in all forms. The chair of the Republican National Committee now out on damage control. On GMA, David pressing her on a key campaign pledge.
As you know, during the campaign, then candidate Donald Trump repeatedly made a promise that he would be able to unite the nation better than Hillary Clinton. He said he was the unifier. I want you to listen to this.
I think the thing that will surprise people, I'll be a unifier. I think I'll bring people together. And that includes blacks and whites and everything. I think people will come together.
Do you think what he said yesterday unified the American people?
I think condemning white supremacy and KKK and neo-Nazism was a first step.
Sharing the blame is what he said yesterday.
I don't think comparing blame works in this situation.
And she had her own message to white supremacists. The Republican Party doesn't support you and doesn't want your vote.
She was very clear on that. Mary Bruce with us live tonight. And Mary, as you reported, the president was quick on Twitter to frame all of these CEOs leaving in his own terms.
Yeah, David, the president was quick to try and get ahead of this, but the fact of the matter is one of these panels was seeing an avalanche of departures, and the other, we've learned, had already decided to disband and informed the White House of that decision just before the president sent that tweet. David.
Mary Bruce leading us off again tonight. Mary, thank you. And now to Charlottesville and the very emotional moment today, a mother and father in front of a packed auditorium. You'll hear what they said after losing their daughter after that driver plowed into that crowd. ABC's Eva Pilgrim was in the room.
In Charlottesville tonight, a line of people standing in solidarity with Heather Heyer, the 32-year-old woman killed in that horrific car attack.
No father should have to do this.
From her father, Mark, a plea for peace.
She wanted to put down hate. And for my part, we just need to stop all this stuff and just forgive each other.
But from Heather's mother, Susan, defiance.
They tried to kill my child to shut her up. Well, guess what? You just magnified her.
Then a call to action.
Say to yourself, what can I do to make a difference? And that's how you're going to make my child's death worthwhile. I'd rather have my child, but by golly, if I got to give her up, we're going to make it count.
After, words of hope.
Is there a way to move on from this?
I think the only thing we can do is to reach out to people who think differently than us and realize that we're all humans.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
But as Charlottesville tries to heal, a new documentary from Vice giving us a closer look at the hate-filled protests.
Jews will not replace us!
Hundreds of white nationalists marching through the University of Virginia, torches in hand.
Blood and soil! Blood and soil!
Vice spoke with one of those white nationalists, Christopher Cantwell, about that car attack that killed Heather Heyer. His answer? Chilling.
Our rivals are a bunch of stupid animals who don't pay attention. They couldn't just get out of the way of his car. And some people got hurt. The amount of restraint that our people showed out there, I think, was astounding.
But tonight in Charlottesville, Heather's mother insists her daughter's death will have meaning and that her legacy is only beginning.
And Eva Pilgrim joined us tonight from Charlottesville. And Eva, some very difficult moments there for that community, drawing strength from that mother and father. And tonight, the military, all 5 service chiefs have come out on their own to condemn racism and these hate groups.
That's right, David. Those top commanders in a rare move speaking out. Army General Mark Milley tweeting, "The Army doesn't tolerate racism, extremism, or hatred in our ranks. It's against our values and everything we've stood for since 1775. David.
Eva Pilgrim with us again tonight. Eva, thank you. And one more note on this tonight, because there's new reporting about the man who allegedly drove his car into that crowd. Authorities now releasing records of 911 calls, his past, and his alleged treatment of his own mother. Here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, disturbing new details about James Alex Fields Jr., seen here shouting about white power. Moments before police say he rammed his car into that crowd. His mother says she knew he was going to a rally, but was unsure what it was about.
I didn't know it was white supremacists. I thought it had something to do with Trump. Trump's not a supremacist.
911 transcripts released to ABC News portray Fields terrorizing his wheelchair-bound mother 3 times between 2010 and 2011. In one call, Samantha Bloom allegedly tells police that her 13-year-old son smacked her in the head and put his hands over her mouth. A fearful Bloom had made the call after locking herself in the bathroom. In another call, Fields allegedly stood behind her with a 12-inch knife and scared Mom to death, not knowing if he was going to do something.
And Pierre Thomas with us live tonight as well. And Pierre, in Baltimore, Confederate monuments were removed in the middle of the night last night, and the mayor saying, quote, "It was in the best interest of my city."
David, the mayor said she took emergency action because after seeing what took place in Charlottesville, she believed the statues were a security risk. Today, she said, quote, "Enough speeches being made. David," she said, "get it done."
Pierre Thomas with us tonight as well. Thank you, Pierre. Next this evening, the storm threat moving up the Atlantic coast, Hurricane Gert, causing rip currents that have now turned deadly. There are warnings up at this hour across several states. So let's get right to meteorologist Rob Marciano. He's with us live from Asbury Park, New Jersey tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. Hurricane Gert over 400 miles off this coastline, but has turned off these waters, making this surf dangerous. This beach now closed to swimming because there's been dozens of water rescues from rip currents today, even one man losing his life in Nantucket surf. Check out Gert, now a Category 2. You see the distinct eye there. 100-mile-an-hour winds moving rapidly to the northeast, but heavy surf across New England through at least tomorrow night. We have 3 other disturbances in the coast. The tropical Atlantic all moving towards the west. The closest one likely to head into the Caribbean, according to our computer models. The other 2 could very well make a closer to approach to the U.S. by the end of next week. We're ramping up hurricane season, David.
It's that time of year. Rob Marciano with us live tonight. Thank you, Rob. We move on this evening to the sudden illnesses affecting a major airline. For the 3rd time in just a week, crew members on board a JetBlue flight have become sickened. They were taken to the hospital, and this evening what the airline now says caused this newest case. Here's ABC's David Curley.
This jet, the 3rd JetBlue aircraft in a week,
there are possibly 2 patients
in which crew members say they became sick.
There's an odor on the plane. We're unsure what it is. We're around.
2 crew members on this Boston to Charleston flight taken to the hospital. JetBlue says in this case, it was nail polish remover that was the odor. But just last Thursday, 2 JetBlue aircraft were diverted after a half-dozen crew members complained of odors in the cabin.
And a noxious odor in the aircraft appears to be a smoky type smell.
In one of those incidents, emergency crews in Buffalo administered oxygen. A pilot and 2 flight attendants taken to the hospital. In both incidents last week, JetBlue says that it followed the manufacturers and the FAA's guidelines in checking out those aircraft, and both jetliners were returned to service. David?
David Curley, our thanks to you as well. Next tonight, the military tragedy unfolding in Hawaii. The images coming in, the search underway for 5 crew members. Their Army Black Hawk chopper crashing during a night training exercise off Oahu. The Coast Guard spotting debris in the water 90 minutes after contact was lost. No word yet on why that chopper went down. In London tonight, the manhunt underway at this hour after a bold heist in broad daylight. A team of thieves on motorcycles using hammers to smash their way in, and then one waving a sledgehammer on their way out. ABC's James Longman from London tonight.
Tonight, London police searching for the mysterious thieves in this daring jewellery heist. This video capturing them pour out of the smoke-filled shop, 6 figures in black. Still wearing their helmets, they jump onto their waiting mopeds, making a speedy getaway.
Oi!
You can see one of the thieves wave a sledgehammer used to smash their way in. And inside, the aftermath. Another hammer discarded, the thieves taking an unknown amount in valuables from the display cases. You can see they've put the glass back on that shop now, but this happened right in the middle of central London. We're just around the corner from the famous department store Harrods, and this is not the first heist of its kind. In April 2015, the biggest heist in UK history. Nearly $20 million was stolen from a safety deposit box by 4 elderly pensioners. There's no indication of any connection with other robberies. No one was hurt. Police haven't yet made any arrests, but are appealing for witnesses. David?
ABC's James Longman. James, thank you. Back here at home tonight, into the sudden shakeup in the Russia investigation, Special Counsel Robert Mueller losing one of his top investigators, Peter Strzok, after only a few weeks on the job. There's no word why tonight. Mueller working with nearly 24 lawyers, administrators, and a federal grand jury now investigating Russia's meddling in the U.S. presidential election and any possible collusion. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Wednesday. The fiery crash on an American highway.